Hey everyone, so today we're going to be talking about messaging crushes on Facebook. So you're on Facebook and you have a person that you like and you just want to message them, you want to say something. So you are just thinking in your head, what should I say? Should I say hi? Should I say something quirky or funny? And oftentimes this is either a person that you know in person but you've never talked to, or maybe you've only talked to briefly in person, or maybe someone you know but you don't know that well for them to know that you like them in a more than friends kind of way. So what do? Well, I'm here to give you my experience with this. I've had many years of experience being a little older than most of you guys watching this, and maybe some of you older individuals can still be helped by this because maybe you don't know how to use Facebook and you're still new to Facebook. So before I get into that, make sure you stick around for the whole video because otherwise you won't get the full strategy and picture. And if you like these sort of videos on dating advice, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Anyhow, let's get started with this video. The first thing you want to make sure that you do is realize that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Because there's so many instances where something would just finally spur me to do it. And usually it happened to be years of painstakingly just not doing anything. And ultimately you find out that, first off, the whole thing's very petty. Second off, like if they don't respond, like that actually happens very often, and it may be due to your message, but more so it's probably because you're relying on some sort of online medium to talk to someone who you don't know well. And three, it all comes down to the fact that if you really need to get along with someone or be able to get along with someone beforehand in person before you take it online, and if you do it the other way around, oftentimes it can end up being a crutch, or you can end up butchering yourself, because how many times have I heard stories of people who are just almost flawless online and then they meet the person in person and it just falls apart. It happens all the time in online dating. So ultimately, if you really want to get to your ultimate goal, which oftentimes isn't just some online relationship or text message relationship, because usually those things just end up going nowhere and it's just some sort of ego boost for the opposite party. You want to get to a point where you have some sort of face-to-face human interaction, and that's ultimately what you should work for. And you should work towards getting used to talking with them in person. And if you can't do that, you should work on that before that, because all the finesse on Facebook's not going to do you very good if you can't talk to them in person at the end of the day. It's just very awkward when you talk to them on Facebook and then in person you're just very shy, and you're so shy that you ignore them when you clearly see them and you walk past them in the hallways. It's not going to work, and then your Facebook messages fall apart and so forth. But again, let's move on to actually what you should do. So on Facebook, generally, you can say whatever you want. The biggest problem is people put on all these filters. They're scared. They're like, oh, I can't say this, I can't say that. I have to be formal, I have to be polite, I have to do this and that. And ultimately, they just get so scared and petrified, at least I do, that you don't say anything at all. And oftentimes, whatever you say can come off very creepy if you don't know the person in person. If your Facebook profile is just a mess, horrible pictures of yourself, creepy ones where you're always alone and you're taking photos of yourself through the mirror, and you just look very creepy, and you're not groomed well, and you haven't combed your hair back or adjusted your glasses. And I'm not talking about myself, I'm just saying, generally. Maybe I am talking about myself, who knows. But what I do recommend is that for Facebook, if you don't know a person, you have to be someone who's capable of having a normal conversation online. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want, given certain rules of being polite to a certain extent, not being horrendously misogynistic or cruel or horrible in any way. Generally, you can even tease them or give insults in the realm of being normal and showing that you're kidding and just playing around. But ultimately, what you'll find is at the end of the day, if they don't respond or they don't do something or they don't talk back, it's usually their decision. Because what I found through human interactions, whether in person or online, when it's two people of the opposite gender, just talking with them and socializing with them is generally enough for them to get their gears thinking and considering you in potentially a more than friends sort of way. Most people subconsciously think this through and decide when you just start talking to them and interacting with them. So generally, oftentimes, especially online, it's something where, especially if it's a girl, they're just bombarded with hundreds of males and the competition's exceptionally fierce and all the odds are stacked against you. So generally, all the signs point to human interaction being better in a lot of different ways. So again, you really want to look towards human interactions first and then branching off to Facebook. But if you're in that rare situation where you can't meet that person and you want to do it on Facebook, that just takes a lot of trial and error. And there's plenty of people who are much better at it than me. For me, I just think you're spending all this time on your computer, on this electronic device, looking at an electronic screen, practicing your skills, and heck, it can work. But, it's a huge stretch, and the odds are usually stacked against you when you're doing that. So generally, my rule is you can use Facebook and stuff like that, but oftentimes it's much better to at least start off, if you can, with a decent human interaction foundation and build off that. And if you have to use Facebook messaging, it's not really what you say. If you stay within the normal realms of a general line of politeness and not being exceptionally rude or misogynistic or racist or anything like that, and ultimately just talking to them and seeing if they're interested. And oftentimes, especially on Facebook, people understand what's going on. Whether they're a girl or a guy, they understand, okay, someone of the opposite gender talking to me. Oftentimes, more often than not, they will run through the calculation, hey, maybe they're messaging me because they're interested. And it can be a very, very daunting task. So that's a whole video in itself, which I'll upload later on just getting the courage to do something like that. But long story short, it's something that's, it is what it is. And if you want to do it, you have to kind of get used to rejection, because like it or not, oftentimes the people you want to talk to are generally bombarded and the competition is stacked against you. So at the end of the day, put your head back, relax, because there's so many instances in my life from my experiences where it's just like all these times in high school and college where it's just like I think it's the end of the world. You think you'll be so embarrassed if they don't respond or you get rejected. And there's I remember this one moment where I just out of the blue messaged someone finally, because I finally, coming from the side of extreme shyness, I was just like, I'm just going to try that. I'm just going to throw myself out there because I'm so sick of all these wasted years of what ifs and no response. And then I tried again just to make sure, no response. And I remember it because I was at the library and I just put my head down and I was just so embarrassed, and I looked around like everyone was going to laugh at me. and nothing happened. And generally, I got over it. And that's what's going to happen. And oftentimes it's like, what makes this girl so valuable that she's so much beyond you? And at the time, it was usually something like beauty or popularity or lots of friends or great fashion sense and so forth. But you have to really develop a real respect for yourself. And oftentimes that involves creating some value in yourself. So for me, I've read a lot of books. I've absorbed a lot of knowledge in a lot of fields, and I'm very content with who I am and the value I have. And if someone doesn't recognize that, it's often because, one, they don't see it initially, because oftentimes they just see you and they're just like, oh, Asian guy with glasses, who knows who this guy is, average Asian guy. But two, you know deep down that you're awesome, and keep your head up. I know it sounds cheesy, but that's what I want to say. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video if you're subscribed for more dating advice and so forth, and just dating discussion, really. And thank you so much for watching. And again, I'm not some sort of dating guru or expert, but this is something I think is very useful. Anything where people who have had more experience than you, or knowledge or expertise or skill in you, that they can impart very quickly to those who are younger and willing to listen, can shave months if not years off of someone's learning curve and progression to success. And that can create extreme levels of success beyond what the initial person, me, can ever accomplish. So keep your head up, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks. And leave it a like.